Shalom, shalom. I want to start by giving our praises, glory, and honor to the Lord Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahushai, Bahashem, Kakadash. My name is Brother Napak from the Camp Prophets in Babylon, down in Tampa, Florida. And I want to give double honor to the elders and the pastors, great millstone, who teach and rule well, peace and blessings to the hopeful elect and the ones listening in. And I want to get into a quick lesson. And I want to title this lesson, The Watermelon Stereotype is gets a lot deeper. Okay? And ultimately, I want to get through this lesson a little fast because ultimately, honestly, I did this lesson 2 times prior, but the longer the video is, it shuts it off and it deletes the video. So I'm gonna try to get through a little fast. So I'm gonna get into this article. The brother GMS Dedication, had put it's a post. It says, how old were you when you found out the watermelon stereotype about black people started because white people resented the success of black farmers who were making a fortune selling the fruit? They pushed the stereotype to damage sales and distort the image of our thriving businesses. And in the comment section, it says, after emancipation, many black people turned to watermelon farming as a way to build independence. The fruit was affordable, easy to grow, and in high demand. For a while, it became a symbol of black success. Black farmers were feeding their communities and making real money from the land. But white people couldn't stand to see the formerly enslaved people thriving, so they turned the watermelon into a racist weapon through ads, cartoons, and newspapers. They pushed the image of black people as lazy, greedy, and childish with watermelons in hand. All right, so ultimately, we all know the stereotype and the joke, all right, about, watermelon and, Jake people, all right, and how, Jake, just couldn't resist watermelon and, he had the big lips and all these different things. But ultimately, these were a part of the curses, man, all right. And so you had it where Jake, was trying to strive independently after being enslaved and emancipation. All right. They tried to strive, all right, by making a business selling watermelon, and Esau seen it and seen how these Jake were making more money than them and more successful than them just coming out of slavery. and Esau, being the proudful demon he is, man, couldn't stand it. He resented it. He hated it because these, Jake were making more and doing better than them in their own kingdom. All right. So what you had Esau do was, create commercials, propaganda, all right, as you would call it, pushing agenda through, newspapers, the ads, the cartoons, and all these different things. This was the propaganda Esau was pushing upon Jake. All right. Labeling them and showing and visualizing them through the television, all right, as lazy, greedy, and childish, man, with the watermelons in their hands, all right. And that's what caused a lot of the ridicule, all right, and the mockery and the proverbs and the borrowers that we got from that watermelon joke, all right, because people, even to this day, man, all right, Jake will get, they will make mockery and jokes about Jake. All right. You just a watermelon big lip nigga. All right. These are the things that they will say upon to Jake because the propaganda and the things that Esau has put against us. There's a lot more stereotypes. Your father, not being present. They always, make fun of Jake about that. Jake not being able to swim, Jake big lips, all these different things that, Jake always being in prison or in jail, these different things that they created against our people, all right? And ultimately, our people start to go along with those terms through their actions, all right? Because the what you would call it, the destroying of our image throughout the ages, all right, will actually make you believe these were the things that we were, all right? That's why Jake always hated themselves, man. All right, and the darker Jake were, not black, Salakia, but the darker Jake were, the more Jake would hate himself, or other people would continuously bully or, look down upon Jake because of his skin color, how dark he was. It was hard times for, darker Jake. Okay? Now I want to get this scripture, the brother put in his caption. It says, Jeremiah chapter 23, verse 40, says, and I will make you an object of ridicule, and your name will be infamous throughout the ages. And this is something that we've been going through for years, man. Decades, centuries, all right, is the image that Esau has created upon us, the deception that Esau has lied to the mass about against us. All right, because Jake, everybody loves watermelon. All right, but Jake has to be the one that loves it the most. All right, Jake has to be the childish, lazy, greedy nigga that loves it the most. All right, and this was Esau's agenda. All right, this was his deception, his scheme, his devices that he was planting against Jake, man, which destroyed Jake's image. Because this is something that Jake now lives with. Jake's still being affected to this day. Racist jokes, all these different types of proverbs and bywords. These are the things Judah has suffered. And even these other, the Latin tribes, man, the Northern Kingdom, they have to suffer it, very harshly as well. All right. But Judah got it the worst because Judah being the head tribe, all right, Judah had to suffer the worst. All right. Which was, the jokes and the mockery and all these different things that Judah had to go through that Esau was, making up. All right. And throughout that, those words and those deceptions that they were putting on Jake, those things could ultimately really affect Jake. It was ultimately really affecting Jake, where Jake was becoming mad. It was starting to go crazy about it. Even now, Jake's still going crazy because of the things and the curses that they have to deal with. All right. Being called a nigger, savages, animals, all these different things. Jake's actions started to show those things or become that character that Esau was painting Jake out to be. All right, because of those words and those things that Jake already had to live through, and Jake like, bro, I'm not none of this. A lot of Jake don't even like watermelon. Me personally, I don't really like eating it like that. I mean, it's not something I want. I just run from, or I don't want to eat, or it's just really disgusting to me. That's something I don't really eat like that. I'll eat it if it's there, but but the propaganda that was pushed out is that every Jake can't resist watermelon, man. Every time Jake walk into the Walmart or a grocery store, they making sure they get them some watermelon or something. All right. And that's that, agenda, those wicked devices that Esau has pushed against us. All right. But it says, this is Deuteronomy chapter 28, verse 28 in the NLT. It says, the Lord will strike you with madness and blindness and panic. So the Lord has struck Jake with that madness and blindness and panic. All right. Jake don't understand anything. Jake is, going crazy and panicking because of the hell that they're being put through. It can make anybody go crazy. That's why Jake will go out and become as ruthless as they are, and these young niggas with switches, these animals, that are these niggas that they will call animals and savages. They start to be as such and play that character because this is what Esau created through his propaganda, through his wicked devices. These are the Jake that Esau has created through all these things, man. Jake, Esau set up the projects and put Jake in them. All right, and start experimenting on Jake, man. All right, Jake became a project unto Esau And ultimately, Jake has been destroying themselves over and over. And Esau understood that they couldn't destroy us and exterminate us physically, so they did it mentally. They did it spiritually. All right. And Salaki, if I'm speaking fast, I'm trying to get this, done, get these scriptures out quick. Lord willing, is as edifying as the last ones I did, man. But it says, you will grope around in broad daylight like a blind person groping in the darkness, because ultimately Jake will try to find their way. And that's what happened with the watermelon businesses, the farmers, that the Jake farmers were creating so they can be able to be independent and find their way, all right, after being enslaved and in emancipation for so long, all right. Jake was finally being able to, be, as they were so-called free, as they labeled it free, but they still had Jake, honestly, in chains and bondage, mentally, all right, spiritually, okay? They still had Jake in bondage and chains. So that's why they was able to push that propaganda against Jake to destroy their businesses, to destroy them as farmers, their success. It says, but you will not find your way. All right. So even when they try to find their way, they try to become better. They try to, Jake trying to look for, better in life. You won't find your way. It says you will be oppressed and robbed continuously. And that's what Esau had done. He continuously oppressed and robbed Jake of their success, robbed Jake of their independence, robbed Jake of their so-called freedom. All right. It says, and no one will come to save you. Okay. And no one will be able to come and save you. So that's why Jake still has to go through all this hell and pain and different things that Jake has to go through because, of the robbery, all right, that and oppression that Esau has put them through, robbing them of their image, robbing them of their freedom. All these different things Esau has robbed us of. It says, Deuteronomy 28 verse 37 says, you will become an object of horror. All right. You will become an object of horror, man. And that's how Jake are looked at now. All right. You walk around, in public. All right. These other nations, Esau, they're looking at you as an object of horror. They're looking at you, thinking you ready to steal something. You about to rob them or you about to do something crazy, to them. And that's all because of the stereotypes and the propaganda that was pushed against us. And because of that, that vibration that was set out, now even Jake are starting to put on that character. They starting to walk that way and show and do that in their actions. Jake wasn't always like that, man. But the curses that they have been put through, that the Lord put us through, is, and ultimately the hell that Esau been putting upon us, all right, is creating Jake to be, mad, all right, crazy, in panic. It says, it says ridicule and mockery among all the nations which the Lord sends you. So you will be, that's what we are. We're ridicule, we're a mockery. Okay, a proverb, a byword unto these other nations, man. That's how they see us. That's just big lip niggas that's ready to steal out of their stores. You go into a gas station, them damn Elamites, watching you on the camera the whole time you're in the gas station. You can't walk anywhere without them damn niggas looking at you, man. All right, and that's because of the curses that were put upon us. And ultimately, we will be justified. That's what we got to be justified from, man. Esau, we didn't enslave you in this lifetime. This didn't happen in this lifetime. We didn't do it. It's not our fault. We didn't do anything, But ultimately, we still go through it, nigga. We still go through these different things and different hell that Esau has put us through, from their deceptions and all these different things. And not only that, nigga, you were reincarnated, nigga. That you did those things in your past life, bro. So Esau isn't innocent. Any of these Edomites are not innocent, and they have to pay for what they have done. All right, the hell that they have put Jake through. All right, so with that, Lord willing, this lesson was edifying to hopeful like and once listening again. Like I said, I had to kind of get through this fast before my screen recorder turned off and delete the video. So And we give all praises, glory, and honor to the Lord, Yahweh, Bahashim, Yahushai, Bahashim, Rakakadash. Once again, that bond us out as an apostle, a great millstone, who teach you well. Peace and blessings, hopeful light. Shalom.